Hello and welcome to the special video of Python Bytes. So what is the date today? It is 22nd February 2022. So if you write this date in DDMMYYYY format, that is 22/02/2022. So if you read the number from left to right or right to left, it is the same thing. So I thought, let us write a function to check if a given string is palindrome or not. Let us understand what is a palindrome. Wikipedia defines palindrome as a word, phrase, or a sequence that reads the same backward or forward. For example, if we take the word madam and if we read it from left to right or right to left, it both can be read as madam. In India, there is a language, Malayalam, that is also a palindrome. So if you read from it left to right or right to left, it is Malayalam. The fun part about today's date, that it is also a palindrome. So 22nd Feb 2022. If we write it in DDMMYYY format, so that is 22/02/2022. And if you read it from left to right or right to left, both way it is same. Now let us see what is a way to check if a given string is a palindrome. So I'm going to show two ways. First is a simple way, and the next one is a faster or an intelligent way. So we'll create two functions. In a simple function, if a string is given, we'll convert it into a list. We'll make it into a list, and then list has a function called reverse. So it will reverse the list. So the last element will become the first element, and the first element will become the last element. So now when we have a list, so this is we have to store this in a variable called reverse list, and this reverse list can be created back into a string using the join function that of the list, and this will give us reverse string. And once we have the reverse string, we will compare this with the string, and if both these strings are same, the given string is a palindrome. So here we see we have three functions. First is we convert it into a list, then we reverse it, and then we join it. We have to understand each of these functions occupies space. We have to create new variables. We had to create one new list variable that was a reverse list, and then another string variable for reverse string. So there were two new variables created, and there were three operations done. So join, reverse, and list. All these operations are time consuming and memory consuming. If we have a shortage of memory or we want to do it faster, we will have to avoid using these kind of operations and do an in-place comparison for the string. So for that, we'll see how a faster or intelligent function or way to solve it. So let us take an example, madam. And we know that a string is a form of a list. So all the characters can be addressed using an index in a string. So let us address it 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we know that we have to just compare that if the first character and the last character are same, and then we go one step inside. So we see if the second character and the second last character are same, and that way if we keep going inside, like from left to right, both sides we keep going inside and we start comparing the characters, we know all the characters are same, then it's a palindrome. So let us see that now let us give it a name for string. So what are we supposed to compare? String 0 is equal to string 4, and string 1 is equal to string 3. For 2, it is quite redundant to compare because the character at second position is always going to match the character at the second position. So this kind of operation is going to be redundant. So we kind of have to avoid doing redundant operations. So now let us write this in a code format or a dynamic way. So let us start a for loop because we have to do it a for loop. So for I, that is the index in range. Let us come to this part little later. So let us write if string I is equal to string. So we have to find the index for this. So let us write the length of string minus I minus 1. So we write this minus 1 because the indexes in Python start with 0. So for that we do minus 1 over here. So, and if this comparison is true, then the string is a palindrome. If at any place, at any point we find that this comparison fails, we can just break the for loop and say that the given string is not palindrome. So let us now see how we can solve this. So if I was 0, we get length. So in this example, the length was 5, the I was 0 and minus 1. So we had to compare this index 0 with index 4. So if you calculate this, we get 4. So we are comparing that. In the next one, if the index is 1, so 5 minus 1 minus 1, and that is 3. So we are comparing index 1 and index 3. So now let us focus on the range value that we are supposed to take. So I'm going to continue in the second column here. So if the number of characters or the length of the string is odd, we want to go one step less than. So if it was an odd number and if we divide it by 2, we'll get it. So we divide it by 2, we get some number 0.5. If it was even and we divide by 2, we'll get that some number. We have to just focus on this whole digit part. So how to get this whole digit part? We know that we can use modulus. So if we do odd modulus 2, still we get a whole number. So we get an integer here. So let me write integer. And if we do even modulus 2, we get integer. So why are we going just halfway? Is because if we go beyond that half point, we are going to do duplicate operations. So we are now going to start checking 1 is equal to 3, but we have already checked that 1 is equal to 3, so we don't have to do it second time. So let's just replace this whole thing, just replace this equation in the question mark place. I'm going to erase this and I'm going to write it. So length of the string modulus 2. So I'm going to go only up to that point. So that way our operation will become faster, and we are not creating any new variables, but we are just comparing it in place with the same string. Let us also, when we write a code, we'll see what time each function, the simple comparison and faster and intelligent comparison takes. Now let us start the coding part and let us develop the two functions that we saw in the understanding of the logic, how to check if a given string is a palindrome. So let us check first, create the function simple check palindrome, and then later on create an intelligent check palindrome. At the end, we'll also see how these two functions, when they run one after another, how long they take to implement the same check. So in the explanation, we had seen that in a simple method, we are going to use already existing functions that are there for Python. So we are going to convert the string into list. So, but before we do that, we have to do one more operation with the string, and that is, if someone inputs a string in mix of upper and lower cases, even if the letters, the alphabets are same, the check will fail, because it will in the comparison, lowercase alphabet and uppercase alphabet are not same. So we'll first convert everything into uppercase, and we can do that in this manner. We'll use the same variable input string. We'll replace this saying that input string dot upper. So this is a function of a string. Upper is a function of a string where all the characters will be converted into upper string. And now let us do our string to list operation, where we convert the list input string into a list format. So then we reverse this list. So we'll create a reversed list, and that is string to list dot reverse. So the list is reversed, and then we have now reversed string that we want, and this is how we'll get it. So join reversed list. So now we have the reversed string, we have the original string also, and now we will just compare. We'll declare the variable palindrome. Initially we have declared it true, so if someone gives a blank string, our operation still should have to work. That's why we have declared this palindrome as true and true in the beginning of the function. But we are going to override that now here. So what we are going to override? We are going to override the comparison. So the input string equal to reversed string. So this comparison, if it is true, the palindrome value will be true. If it is false, the palindrome value will be false, and that is what it will return. So now over here I have already created the input string madam, and we'll see what happens. So we have a start time. So this start time and required time are here to check how long this function took to implement. So we are going to do it for the intelligent check also and for the simple check, and when we do for both of them, we'll see the time difference that we see. So the input is madam, and now let's run it. When we run, it says we did one little mistake over here. The string to list.reverse is an in place operation, so it will basically do in place, so reverse, so string to list, and when we run now, we'll got it true, because for madam it was a true. It is a palindrome, and it took us at a very small time. So if you see, even it took us like less than a second. It's like 0.000. So there are 4 zeros before 32. So that many small amount of time it took our computer to check if it was a palindrome. Let us now just replace this with another word, that is Malayalam. So you see, I purposely put a uppercase M here, and everything else is in a lowercase. But still our function will run, because we have added this converting the string to upper. So that. Now let's just remove this M so that it doesn't remain palindrome. So it gave us a false output. Now let us jump to the intelligent part of coding, or the faster way, where we conserve memory and do. So for the sake of that, I'm going to just copy this string part over here, so that we have an uppercase string all throughout. And now we are going to see, we are going to create another variable just for the sake of using it there. So length of the string is length of input string, and now we are going to run the for loop for I in range. And now we have seen that we have to take a modulus of the mid part. So length of string modulus 2, and now we code over here. So we will say if, so this is a condition. So if input string and index I and is equal to input string. So let me type input string completely over here, because that is what we are taking as an input. So input string, and then we put the formula that we had seen in the explanation. So it was the length of the string minus I and minus 1. Let me repeat, why are we taking minus 1? Because indexes in Python start with 0. So when we take minus 1, it will get us to the exact end point, or wherever we want. So if this condition is true, we just continue the program. But else, so we'll add a else over here. Else, if this condition fails, we are going to break it in that point itself. We don't even go ahead. So before breaking, we will say it's a palindrome is false. So we'll declare, if this condition fails, we'll change this palindrome variable to false, because we know that at a certain point the characters didn't match that we were comparing. So we'll break it over here. And now let us just uncomment this. I had commented this run part, and now if we run, we see that now also it has come false, because our input is still Malayalam. So I have to add this extra M over here. And now if we run the first part, the simple part took us 32, like 0.00032, but the faster code took us like 1/3 of that time. So it took us less amount of time than that. So if this was in a million, that the string length was in millions, this time would have been really a substantial, like it would have made some meaning, that the difference could be really big. But even for such a small time difference, we can see that we are able to see the difference. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you are enjoying these bites of coding. If you like this kind of videos, please like and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye till next time. Keep coding.